Alright guys, HyDra back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. There are 4 rosters in the CDL yet to be confirmed, and despite the fact that Rostermania slowed down considerably over the last couple of weeks, many people still believe they could form rosters that are better than many of the teams that have been confirmed so far. Which players should be targeted by those teams? Parasite believes that Donny, Temp should be right at the top of the list of many of these rosters. Would they form a great team as a result? Which players would you guys sign to your roster if you were the general managers? Very much enjoy your perspective in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Miami Heretics getting ready for the new season. They, of course, signed their own team not that long ago. They've got 5 players on their roster as well, mainly because, well, maybe not mainly, but one of the reasons why they've got Vikul, Erikboom, Lucky, obviously Method is going to be the coach over there. They've also got JurNii and MettalZ, of course, as well. 5 players plus a coach means that they can get all the situations sorted with visas now, and then if they do need to make a change, at least they've got a sub that they can be bringing in. But, you know, as Miami Heretics are moving about here, Clayster, please sign me so I don't have to play for Vegas again. So we will see if that comes true, because lots of questions on this lately. Which players are going to go where? When is Clay going to get signed? Is it going to be Los Angeles Guerrillas? We don't really know. Just before we get into that, I did want to mention this from EasyMac, and I know that he's discussed this before. What do you guys think about this idea? In Formula 1, the race days, the race weekend is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All the drivers usually turn up on either Wednesday or Thursday morning, and Thursday is basically media day. Yes, they do prep with their team, strategy, engineering meetings, all that, I'm sure, really fun stuff. But also they have to do media duties, right? So they have to all sit in front of the media for Formula 1. They also have to all talk to Sky Sports and other ones. And to be fair, it's a big commitment for the drivers. They don't particularly like doing it. The questions they get asked aren't necessarily that massive amounts of fun, but it's part of their duties. It's how it works. Now, the Call of Duty League, and to be fair, other esports as well, maybe don't use this as much as they could. Like back in the CWL, there used to be more of this stuff. But, you know, for example, in the CDL nowadays, all the players are there on the Wednesday, right? They're there even maybe slightly before that, but they'll certainly be there on the Wednesday, and the matches start on Thursday. So there is a prime opportunity here, in the same way that at the start of the season, the first event of the year, the players are always there one day early, because Wednesday will be media day for taking the pictures, right? Because all the pictures for the players usually get taken on the day before the first match of the season. Maybe they even do it some other time, I don't know. But usually they've got the camera guy there ready to go, and they have some sort of media day. And, you know, why not do that every single event and have some sort of, you know, press conference style thing for the players? Doesn't have to be as long or as intense as what they do in Formula 1. But I do feel like we lack some of that, because when you've got all the players descending on a venue for a weekend, and yet the first thing you see out of the league is the first match on the Thursday, you got to feel like there's better options there. Imagine as well some of the statements that might be said by certain players ahead of the weekends when you ask Scrappy, all right, you're playing these guys in a first round game, how do you think it's going to go? He then says this, then, you know, later in the day, Kismet gets asked, Scrappy said he was going to smoke you. What do you think about that? You know, it might potentially go. And there's all sorts of stuff that could happen here. So I think it's one thing to look at, because I don't think it would take much for the CDL to execute this. The players are already going to be there on the Wednesday, and they're usually just chilling, scrimming, stuff like this. Rotate the players through a couple of hours of media duties, and I think that's how it has to go at some point. It's a question as to whether we do it in the short term or in the long term. But, you know, it will happen at some point, but maybe they need to do it sooner rather than later. Now, let's talk Rostermania, because 4 teams, as Viper Gaming says, haven't done much in some time. Most of the teams that we've had rumoured have now confirmed their teams. Seattle Surge, that's not the case as yet, and we frankly have like nothing on the other 3 teams, which is surprising, right? This time of the season, I thought we would, you know, it's only, what, 3 weeks until the beta arrives. You'd have thought these guys would have said something. We have nothing for Gorillas, really, apart from some rumours that it might be Attach and Clayster. Ravens, we have literally no idea, and Vegas, again, no clue. Apart from the fact that Donny Temp did say a while ago he doesn't really want to go back to Vegas. But we'll see what happens on this one. So Surge, we think we know. This team is meant to be Arcades, Illyhook, and aBeZy. We haven't had any update on that from Jake Hale, so I imagine this is still true. Although, of all the rosters that have been formed in that 5th through 8th range, Minnesota, Los Angeles, Thieves, Boston Breach, I suppose, this is the roster, this Surge one, that I'm like, it doesn't really make that much sense in terms of roles. Minnesota, I don't think are going to be that good, but at least their roles make sense and they have players in the right position. This one is just weird with aBeZy and Arcetes, Illy as well on a sub. I'm not so convinced. So, you know, the fact that they're delaying it a lot might raise the question, are they considering another alternative here? Because they don't have to lock it in immediately, and it's not like we have seen contract signing graphics or whatever, GIFs being thrown up on Twitter by these players, as in, maybe aBeZy did actually, but I'm not sure about the other ones. So it'll probably still get confirmed as this is the roster, but there are some questions whether that could change over time. The more interesting thing to me is, what the hell do these other teams do? They haven't shown anything so far. Ravens, I don't know, I doubt they're going to go down the UK route. If they'd have stayed in London, you'd have thought they might have gone, you know, get Beans, get Bance, you know, get Wardy, I don't know, and just round out like another UK team. Maybe try and replicate what they had at the start of Vanguard, where it was Zero, Afro, Nasty, Gizmo, a really good team actually at the start of that season, and the chaos happens. Gizmo had to go back home, Paulx came in, they were still pretty good, and then it kind of started to collapse and filter out from there. But as it stands, we really don't have much of an idea, so I'll just share what Parasite and Ben and the others on the flank have to say about this, kind of suggesting that it should be possible for these guys to build rosters with the players remaining that are significantly better maybe than some of the other ones being formed. I think it's definitely possible for these teams, especially, you know, Ravens, Gorillas and Vegas, to all form a team. If they really get it right, that could potentially make champs. I don't think these guys are forming teams that are going to win events, but I think it's possible they can form a team that will be in the conversation to make champs. Miami Heretics are, you know, we don't really know how good they're going to be. I think they'll be on the borderline of making champs and not making champs. I think that Minnesota Rocker and Seattle Surge will be in the same position. So I think it's definitely possible that these teams can form a good roster if they put their heads down, and maybe Donny Temp is the answer.
I mean, he's good. He is very good.
Which I don't disagree with you, but think about it this way, right? Let's step through this real quick, right? I agree, you know, talking to people in the Vegas situation, and Clay's talked about it, like Don has definitely taken a concerted effort this season to really improve as a teammate, and I really tip that. But if you look at some of these other team situations, either one, like he's either potentially would have teamed or been coached by people that have actually played with him before, or like probably he wouldn't work in their system. So like Thieves, like he's been in that situation before. Seattle, I just don't think him and Ray, I think that would be kind of a weird.
Coming from me, I know it's pretty obvious, but I'm a big person on like giving people multiple chances, and I think Donny has made a very, you know, he's made strides as a player, as a teammate. I think he's changed a lot about the way he plays, and I think he'd probably make a great teammate. So yeah, I get it. Maybe people still have that stigma where they're just like, okay, you know, Donny, blah 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 blah, let's not pick him up. But Donny is talented. Donny is a great teammate. I firmly believe that people are kind of overlooking him, and I still think, like I said, there's Standy out there, and Nero. There's plenty of people out there that could make an impact. Even Hook is Hook even technically he's not anywhere, right? We obviously have rumors, but yeah, there's people out there. So I think yes, people can make teams that can still give this. I think 5 through 8, as much as you guys are saying it's locked, I don't think the 5 through 8 is locked. I think potentially some of these teams can shake things up there that still have not been announced.
You really never know.
So players like Clay and players like Attach have been, I think, relatively clear that they're not going to go to challenges, you know, like Clay's not going to go to challenges. I think that he's going to take an offer in the CDL, of which he will have one, I think, somewhere. He said that organizations and players are interested to team with Clay, but, you know, hasn't happened yet. And there's only 3 teams remaining in the league right now. And Los Angeles Gorillas might even just want to dip out of the league entirely, as we've seen with their kind of, well, their situation in the Guard and the Valorant League right now. Now, Temp did raise the question a little while ago as to whether he might, if he doesn't get a good offer, go to challenges, bide his time, and try and get picked up by a better team. The issue is with that, especially let's say he turns down an option at Vegas, you don't get paid to play in challenges. Okay, you might make some prize money, and then you've got to hope that some better team actually has room for you. I don't think that's guaranteed at all, and to be honest, if Temp was to get an offer, which he probably has, back to go and join Vegas again, if they actually build a decent team around him, because there are some good options you could probably get for minimum salaries, really, which is what Vegas, I imagine, will be going for, there are some teams you could form that could be better than Minnesota, could be better than Los Angeles Thieves maybe, could be better than Surge, Surge. And if that's the case, then there's no point Temp waiting around to join those teams when they make changes. Might as well join a team at the start of the season that maybe could be even better. So these were the lineman cards for last season. If we just kind of scan through quickly, pretty much all of these guys are now signed, but I guess we'll go through the ones that aren't. So Zinni is retired, Temp is here, Beans is here, certainly also available. Nero as well is a big one that's also available. We know Awakening now signed for the Minnesota Rocker. Vivid is signed, Capsidal is signed, Clay is available, Crimp is available, Nasty is available. Another big name I think really to look at, because Nasty, you know, I think he deserves to have a good chance here in the CDL going forwards, but it might not be anywhere that isn't, you know, Ravens might run it back with him, which I think wouldn't be a bad idea. Kind of wish you got a chance elsewhere. So then you've got Brack, you've then got Standy, Asim, Fame. I mean, there's plenty of players here. Obviously, Joe Thieves is now signed. Vikul is signed. We think that these guys are all getting spots. Scraps, we don't really know what's up with him. And then when you get down to this range, a lot of these players don't really have anywhere to land yet. And even Attach finds himself down here with TJ Halley, but we think that he should be okay. And even, you know, obviously Arsties has got a team and stuff like this. We think at the very least. So one of these options, where would you guys go? I'm still of the opinion that like a Standy Nero SMG duo with a good flex option, either a Nasty or, you know, a Temp or something, and then some sort of AR veteran figure such as Clay. I kind of feel like there might be a chance for Clay and Attach to be the same type of player but on two different teams, because, you know, they can play together, right? They did back in the day, as Clay is like the main, Attach is like the flex type thing or whatever. Maybe it can work, but and I think it can work. The issue is that maybe in terms of veteran AR leadership presences, your best option is actually to have Clay go to one team and then, you know, Attach to go to another team, maybe Assaults to go to a third team of those three. I don't know. Something like that might make more sense, because I think the way you've got to build your team down there is just veteran IGL AR presence, good flex player, and then the best SMGs you can find. And, you know, the good flex player could be a Beans, could be a Temp for sure. Could also be the likes of a GodRx, right? And this is where you've also got to consider there will be good challengers talent out there. And the likes of GodRx, he was really good back in MW19, that 2020 cycle on the Minnesota Rocker. They were crushing it on LAN at the start of that season. Went online, it wasn't so good. Eventually, people thought GodRx was just playing for kills, and he got dropped. His reputation was kind of ruins, and he's been working his way back over the last few years, grinding through challenges, and frankly dominated the grand finals of the Valorant World Championships this year. He actually dropped, grand finals MVP of the World Championship for challenges, got to at a 1.55 KD with these numbers in the relevant mode. So I think there's no doubt to me that GodRx should be at least considered for one of these spots. And you've got the likes of Gwyn, you've got the likes of, you know, Yeez as well, was a player that was going around Florida for some time, and Gwyn, of course, we'll get to this in a second, had quite some talk around him because of Seattle Surge. Many said they should have brought him in instead of Mac during the season. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, if I had to build a team, I would get Clay. I would maybe bring, I don't know how the Clay Donny thing would work. I'd get Clay and then I'd ask Clay, do you want a team with Donny? Who do you want your flex player to be? Do you want it to be Nasty? Do you want it to be Beans? Do you want it to be GodRx? What do you think? And kind of let Clay go from there. And then I'd probably try and get Standy and Nero. That, to me, would be the optimal SMG duo candidates remaining. But even if you can't get them, it's not like there aren't options out there to make good decisions with if you try your best. So I think it's definitely possible for these teams to form good rosters, but it doesn't seem like any of them are in a hurry, right? It doesn't seem like any of them are in a hurry to lock down Standy Nero to make sure that their opponents in that kind of 9 through 12, maybe 5 through 8 range potentially can actually get these guys. So the team that moves first will probably have the best chance of forming a competitive roster here, but yeah, they're not going to plan to. Apparently, that Proloot one was Proloot and Paul X, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. I thought it was a double Proloot, to be honest. This is clearly Insight and then somebody else. This could be Scump, I suppose, actually, as well. Maybe it could be... maybe it could be Scump. Could it be TJ with this? I'm not so sure, to be honest. But I think the hair has got to be Insight, right? And the glasses. So anyway, we're going to leave it there for the day. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.